This bill is an act of vandalism. It is wrecking a cross-party consensus that lasted for decades. Why does the Prime Minister think that so many school leaders are criticising? Between 2009 and 2022, the OECD found children in England rose up global league tables in maths, reading and science. Conservative government action means English schools now top the Western world at maths and reading. The Prime Minister's Schools Bill, which is being voted on in committee this week, reverses the improvements that made this happen. This bill is an act of vandalism. It is wrecking a cross-party consensus that lasted for decades. Why does the Prime Minister think that so many school leaders are criticising this bill?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it was Labour that introduced academies in the first place to drive up standards. Academies are here to stay and will continue to drive up standards. That's what the bill is about. But also in that bill are important provisions for protecting children, including a provision to stop abusers taking children out of school, a unique identifier to ensure the whereabouts of all children are known. What did the Leader of the Opposition do? She instructed all of them to vote against them.
Bother voting on that bill, Mr. Speaker. And he talks about safeguarding measures. That's not what the issue is. It's about the reforms that he is changing. We have an example of where these reforms were not introduced. Wales, which has been under Labour control for 2 decades. Welsh educational outcomes have tumbled down international league tables. Poor children in England now do better than wealthier children in Wales. This bill denies children the guarantee that their failing schools will be turned into a better academy. It is an attack on excellence, it is an attack on higher standards, it is an attack on aspiration. This bill is the worst of socialism, Mr. Speaker, and isn't it deprived children in England who will pay the... This is a tragedy in the making. The key changes in this bill were not in their election manifesto. Isn't that because he knew parents and teachers would reject them?
Parents and teachers know we introduced academies. Parents and teachers know we're driving by standards. We're committed to them. They're part of the future. We will continue to focus on standards. And she talks about special need. She's got a nerve. I don't know. And they know it. Remember, they have asked me questions, these Prime Minister's questions, about the appalling situation of special needs under their watch. We're going to fix that mess like we're fixing every other mess.
After the Labour Party introduced its schooling proposal, it faced intense scrutiny. Specifically, Keir Starmer became the focus of severe condemnation, to the point where he lost composure in Parliament. Normally, he strives to respond to challenging inquiries calmly, yet on this occasion, the backlash proved overwhelming. Rather than paying attention, Starmer sensed the opposition closing in and embarrassing himself. But what exactly does this legislation involve, and what remark from Kemi Badenoch struck Starmer where it stung the most? In this video, we'll uncover the details. Let's begin. Inside the House of Commons, Kemi Badenoch, the opposition's front leader, and Keir Starmer confronted each other, sparking an intense clash over the education proposal. Labeling it outright academic destruction and the lowest form of socialism, Badenoch's biting words portrayed the suggested measures as a backward step that dismantles years of advancement in learning. Notably, the proposal affects the autonomy of academies, a cornerstone of Britain's schooling reform since Tony Blair's Labour administration. She directed everyone to vote against the measures. Although Starmer stood by the proposal, Badenoch argued it would strip away the liberties that allowed academies to flourish, including the freedom to determine teacher salaries, hire experts, and design customized syllabuses. Her reasoning portrayed Labour's adjustments as a concession to union pressure, accusing the party of elevating Labour group agendas above the well-being of pupils, families, and educators. This criticism not only weakened the proposal but also revealed Starmer placing union priorities ahead of forward-looking policy. At that moment, Starmer was left speechless. His reasoning collapsed, and he found it difficult to justify his previous remarks. In response, he attempted to shift the topic, avoiding the actual question. He even posed a counter-inquiry. wondering why Badenoch instructed MPs to reject the proposal. It seems Starmer overlooked the fact that lawmakers are entitled to oppose legislation they believe causes more damage than benefit.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, we introduced academies, we're committed to them, we're driving standards up. But this bill is important because it also sets up breakfast clubs for the very children that she claims to champion. It limits the expense of school uniform and it puts in place vital protections for children. She has to answer the question, why did she instruct all of them to vote against child protection?
In response, Badenoch spoke firmly. She declared that the proposal was an assault on ambition, quality, and elevated standards, effectively redirecting the discussion. Rather than centering on the plan's elements, such as complimentary breakfast programs and low-cost school attire, the focus moved to whether Labour's agenda appeared backward and excessively shaped by union influence. To soften objections, portions like free meals and inexpensive uniforms were included.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister thinks that he can distract people from what is wrong with this bill. This is not about breakfast clubs and school uniforms. Teachers and parents will be horrified at just how bad this bill is. Even his own MPs may not realise it, but the bill will cut teachers' pay. It cuts pay for 20,000 teachers. His education secretary says there is not a ceiling for pay. They're all shaking their heads. They clearly haven't read the bill. She hasn't read the bill either. Because Clause 45 means teachers' pay will be capped. Did the Prime Minister know that the bill as it stands will cut?
Before we proceed, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If so, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth coverage of the transformative shifts unfolding in British politics. Let's move ahead. Moreover, the issue of imposing limits on teachers' salaries unsettled Starmer, leaving him struggling to craft a response. In the end, he had to admit, Mr. Speaker, we do need adaptability within our schools. At that point, Badenoch pressed Starmer even harder. She openly charged Labour with generating disorder in education policy, exposing contradictions and weaknesses within the proposal. For instance, she challenged the reasoning behind barring academies from employing experts without conventional teaching credentials, citing examples like physicians teaching biology or Olympic medalists instructing physical education. This critique struck a chord with observers who regard hiring flexibility as vital for fostering innovation in learning.
This is nonsense, Mr. Speaker, and the amendment he's talking about does not address this issue. He raises academies, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like every other parent, I believe all our children should have the best teachers. Apart from cutting their pay, listen to what the head of Year 11, Mr. Speaker, at Michaela, the head of Year 11 at Michaela, the most successful school in the country, came from the armed forces. The headmistress says that with Labour's new rules, she would never have been able to hire him. Those are the academy freedoms I'm talking about. This bill would have blocked that veteran from teaching. The bill implies that doctors are not sufficiently qualified to teach biology, that Olympic medalists can't teach PE. Why is the Prime Minister closing down routes into teaching when we should be open?
By asserting that Labour was serving trade union interests, Badenoch portrayed Starmer as a leader bound by outdated Labour principles instead of a forward-thinking reformer capable of guiding contemporary Britain. Her comment that educators, families, and pupils would bear the cost of Labour's measures was especially sharp. It spotlighted the possible real-world effects of the proposal, including limits on academy pay and constraints on hiring routes, while suggesting that Starmer was disconnected from these realities. And he truly appeared so, as his remarks often drifted into irrelevance.
We had far too many examples in our secondary schools under their watch of teachers missing when we needed maths teachers. They championed maths. We didn't have enough maths teachers in our secondary schools, and I want every single child to have the best possible education.
Badenoch refused to let Starmer evade the questions. She dominated the exchange and pressed him so intensely that everyone in Parliament could sense it was only a matter of time before Starmer lost his composure.
The facts speak for themselves. The standards went up under Conservative governments. What we need to know is who is benefiting. Mr. Speaker, everyone is asking, who is benefiting from these changes? It's not teachers. Their pay is being capped. It's not parents. Their choices are being restricted. It's definitely not children. Their outcomes will get worse. So who is benefiting? It's the trade unions. The National Education Union sent out a tick list proving that after a decade and a half, they are finally getting their way. Why is the Education Secretary allowing trade unions to run her department and ruin?
Why is the Education Secretary letting trade unions run her department and wreck it? Badenoch's challenge pushed Starmer onto the defensive, undermining his capacity to convincingly present the proposal's supposed strengths, if any existed. She argued that the Education Ministry was effectively being controlled by unions, a claim that carried weight. That's because the only group truly gaining from this measure was the Education Union, and Starmer couldn't dispute it. Instead, he responded in vague terms. He attempted to emphasize the value of free breakfast programs and inexpensive uniforms, seemingly to mask the union influence. The proposal, he claimed, supported children needing nourishment and families struggling financially. When Badenoch delivered her closing strike,
the bill benefits the children who need the nourishment of a breakfast club. The bill benefits the families that can't afford.
The Prime Minister needs to get out more and speak to schools. I was at the Harris Academy just this month, and what are they saying? That this bill reverses 2 decades of progress, imposing Labour's new curriculum on every school, taxing the education of children with special needs, excluding talented outsiders. The closed shop is back. This is pure educational vandalism. And alongside these attacks, removing single-word Ofsted judgments so parents cannot see the standards slipping. It is the same old Labour. Bad outcomes for all children, excellence for none. Mr. Speaker, I know what it's like to go to a school which didn't care about standards. This is a tragedy in the making. The key changes in this bill were not in their election manifesto. Isn't that because he knew parents and teachers would reject them?
Isn't it true that Kemi Badenoch frequently outperforms Keir Starmer in the House of Commons? Do you believe Starmer is truly capable of leading the United Kingdom as Prime Minister? In the comments below, share your views on the education proposal introduced by the Labour Party, which seems to deepen the fractures within the nation's schooling system. Would you like to see more content like this? If so, please like, share, and subscribe for further updates on British politics and the developments shaping it. Until the next video, stay tuned.